Hey guys, it's a bittersweet moment for the Slug. He is getting a rework, and included in this rework is a change of play style. So Abathur is getting quite a few things changed. The biggest thing that he's getting changed is that when you symbiote a target, your carapace has reduced healing. Its heal is what someone did the math. It's essentially a third to a fourth of what it was before. So it's a lot lower healing, but there's some good things about it. The cooldown's lower, which means you don't need to do the whole shield, jump off, and then wait for the cooldown, and then Q back on, because it's effectively going to be the same amount of time now. If you combine the 1.5 second cooldown on your cancel symbiote plus the 4 second cooldown of your symbiote, then you've got a 5.5 second cooldown, and then you also have a small cooldown of 0.5 seconds to cast Carapace, meaning it's exactly 6 seconds either way, whether you stay on the target or whether you do the cycling of the hats. So ultimately, to get the most value out of some of your other abilities, you're going to want to be staying on someone longer. So the playstyle is being shifted a little bit from cycling hats from target to target, and now it's being shifted more towards sticking on one target for a longer period of time. While that is the main thing that they've changed in his abilities, they did also make a change to his Locust Swarm. It now only has a duration of 15 seconds, so you can see they die about when they get to the half point of the lane when you're in try mode. And so you will need to be a little bit closer up. There's pros and cons to this. The pro to this is that minions likely won't push things too far away from where you are, because you want to be near the minions that are going to die so you can soak better. And they also buff the damage of it, so you will be able to soak a little bit easier. However, it is a little bit annoying if you were someone that just wanted to push all day long with your locusts. I do think they push a little bit harder, but they just don't push as far. So that's the biggest change that they've made there. They moved a talent. Oh, they also changed, so your Q now heals baseline, and sorry, your Carapace heals baseline. So you don't need to pick up that talent, and it lasts when you leave, except for it doesn't last permanently anymore. So if you gave a shield to like a Tracer and then left it, it would disappear after the 6 second duration. So for example, I can use E then R, and look, the shield's still on him if you, in case you wanted to heal someone and then switch to someone else, but then the shield will end and the heal will turn off. So there's no more leaving like a permanent shield on someone. Anyways, the Level 1 talents are essentially the same. They just moved down Reinforced Carapace, which was the 40% more and lasted. 40% of it lasted. And now it's just an increased shield amount, and that's it. So on this tier, Spike's still the same. Envenom is still the same. All that's still the same. We'll just pick something. At this tier, they removed the W talent that made it to where your W is global. There used to be a trick that you could do where you would pretty much put a trap down here, and then you try to find it right outside of the range of the structure. Then you would jump in and you would summon all of your minions, and then you would back. And as you're backing, you'd leave and you'd come back with your hat, and you'd be trying to destroy the structure. And you could take out a keep by doing that 2 or 3 times, and it's pretty surprising. So because people don't really expect to have their keep get attacked from the back, you know what I mean? It's kind of interesting, but they removed that. He still has the Toxic Nest charges, and they moved Needle Spine down from level 7 to level 4. Symbiote gives attack speed to heroes, is something that's still available at level 4, even though it's still not really recommended, except for maybe if you are grouped with someone like I don't know, a Phoenix or someone that has really long range that can get a lot of value out of it. Everyone, whenever I see this, they are always like, oh, you should give this to a melee hero because you can use all your other stuff. But the problem is, like, attack speed for melee heroes usually isn't that big of a deal. With the exception of, like, Butcher, but Butcher still blows up pretty quick. So I would still recommend probably Needle Spine. It's just, tends to be better. You can give it to a tank. Tanks don't need the attack speed, and you get the extra damage. So we'll pick up that for now. They still have Mule in the game. but they did nerf its healing from 90 health every 1 second down to, or sorry, from 100 down to 90. Networked Carapace got a buff mainly because you're giving an untalented shield to everyone around you, but your untalented shield now gives healing. So if you're ever in a team fight, you could be healing your entire team at the same time. So it got a pretty large buff. You can essentially be like a Lucio, giving giant shield to everyone and healing everyone at the same time, which is pretty cool. So I like that. Ultimate Evolution is the same as it was before. Evolve Monstrosity got a couple changes. So they nerfed a couple things about him, but then they gave him a burrow, which is going to make it a lot easier for him to keep his stacks, because you can keep pushing in a lane, and the second that people start showing up, you can burrow to the opposite side of the map. And you can even burrow to your area and get heals, and then it takes them a long time to get back to a lane. So it's very easy for you to keep him alive. And then when you get to a team fight, if you have your burrow available, like an objective fight, you can push really hard, get all the stacks you need, and then you can burrow into the team fight, making him kind of like a Dahaka after level 10. And so as much as I've been saying Evolution and Clone is the only option you should really ever take, I've been playing around with Monstrosity after they made some of these changes, and I want to show you guys a few things about Monstrosity when we get in there. So I'll pick it for now, but we'll get into this later. So level 13, from my understanding, they haven't changed anything. Oh, yes, they did. They changed this. So this used to increase the damage and the range, and now, because they increased the damage baseline and decreased the duration, this only increases the duration and increases the range and has the siege attack. So when you pick this, it's going to feel exactly like what it was before. But if you don't pick this, it's going to be, again, shorter duration and more damage than it was before. I feel like Soma Transference is kind of the way to go right now. Or, I mean, you could go with the stab efficiency for just the more damage. But because your healing is less, I feel like you really need that extra heal on whoever you're going to be hatting. And then on to level 16. The Volatile Mutation got the only major change here, which means that now, whenever it does 300 damage to all nearby enemies, it also heals for the damage dealt to heroes. So that is a pretty cool thing right there. And it also does 300 damage when your clone or your Monstrosity dies. So it can be kind of bursty, where you go up, you get one proc off on it, and then your clone dies, and boom, you get that second proc, and suddenly you just did a burst of 600 damage, which isn't bad. So they did buff it, but I don't know if that's going to be the talents, as these two talents are still really, really good. If you get the lowered cooldown on your spike is a 4-second cooldown, so you can drop it down to a 3, and then you can slow movement speed by 40% for 2 seconds. So you can have a 66% uptime on a big slow, which is really good. Or, because they lowered the cooldown of your heal, you can have about I would say a 60% uptime on 40% increased movement speed. Both options are really, really good. So that's some things that you can do. For the sake of this, we're going to be picking up Volatile Mutation, mainly because I want to show you something. I have to actually reset talents, even if I want to show you that. So we'll pick up anything. It doesn't really matter. We'll pick up that. Level 20, they've changed these upgrades. So Evolutionary Link now increases the duration of your Ultimate Evolution to 30 seconds instead of 20. And then it makes it to where, as long as your Ultimate Evolution is alive, the original target of the clone gains a shield equal to 25% of their max health, refreshing every 5 seconds. Meaning that if you shield someone who's squishy, then you could keep them alive from divers for pretty much the entire fight. If you shield someone who's a tank, or clone someone that's a tank, then you could give them a huge shield every 5 seconds. And either way, it's really good. That's 30 seconds where you just keep giving one target a huge shield, and you're getting an extra body out there. I feel like this upgrade makes you more likely to clone a tank, because you could clone a tank and then you could be the frontline tank, their tank can be the backline, and then you just chase people around with like the volatile mutations for 30 seconds. And that means that you can get 10 procs off. That's 3,000 possible damage off the mutation alone. You'll be sticky to the targets because you get extra 10% movement speed, so you can keep up with anyone you want to and keep getting those procs off as much as you want. Plus the fact that you're going to be giving shields to everyone, so team fights will be heavily in your favor. So I feel like cloning the tanks is actually going to be really powerful if you do want to start picking up the upgraded clone. Monstrosity gains basic attack damage. It doubles the damage that Monstrosity does, and it doesn't seem like a great upgrade to anything because it's only one thing and it's only a passive upgrade that doesn't do anything special. But I want to show you that this is actually pretty scary. So we'll get into some. I mean, these other two things are essentially the same, and I don't know how good Hivemind is now that Network Carapace is so good, but it doesn't really matter. So anyways, let's get into one of the builds that I was looking at. So let's reset talents really quick, and I was going for a DPS/healing build. So effectively, we're going to be picking up talents that are going to make it to where our Monstrosity is really scary. And we lose a bit of DPS by not picking up spatial efficiency, so just know that this build could be more DPS intensive, but we're going to go for a defensive option here. And if we want to be stickier to the targets, we'll pick up one of these two, but if we have a tank that's going to be CCing things anyways, then we can essentially just go with Volatile Mutation, and we're going to be picking the bonus attack damage. Now, I'm going to have to speed the game up just a little bit so that you can see the stacking of this. And we're going to just refresh forts every few seconds so we can get the stacks. I'm at 9 stacks. It's going to take a little bit, but again, with Burrow, it should be pretty easy to keep your Monstrosity alive. So 2 waves gets you 16 stacks, right? Let's show you the DPS of 16 stacks right now. So if you look at the DPS numbers at the moment, we're at 750 DPS at 16 stacks. That's about 2 to 3 waves, right? And so in 2 to 3 waves, you're doing... Here, let me turn down the game speed so people don't think that I'm like cheating somehow. So again, about 700 DPS, give or take. And that's with 16 stacks. So let's go back up again. Let's turn on the game speed. And let's take out a couple more minions. And again, this Volatile Mutation makes it easy. So this is 3 waves, 3 to 4 waves. Again, let's turn down game speed. So now we're a little bit above 700 DPS. That's insane. Now I also want to show you guys something. 4,500 health. You guys know how much health that is? A lot of health. Watch this really quick. I could sit here, tank all of this. Look how fast I'm downing towers. Like, it's an insane amount of damage. Now, look how much healing this has. It's not amazing, but say you get in the middle of a team fight really quick. Look at this healing. Look at all of this healing if you get caught in the middle of a team fight. It's insane. So you have this Bruiser that has almost more health than an Arthas at level 20. And watch. We'll kill this wave really quick. 5,000 health. Now, select enemy hero. Watch this. Arthas. Let's let Arthas show up for a second. Okay, he has 6,101 health. So, 6,101 health, you're pretty close to a tank of an Arthas. Not more, but you're pretty close. But either way, I mean, look at how much damage you do if you got caught in a fight with an Arthas. Like, even with him lowering... Now, the other thing about this is that he doesn't actually lower the attack speed. Can anyone tell me why he doesn't lower attack speed? The answer is because he only lowers the attack speed of heroes. And this is where I feel like this is actually a surprisingly good answer to a lot of team comps, because you get this really tanky Monstrosity that has a ton of health, has a ton of damage, and he's immune to everything that heroes have that only affects heroes. Meaning, Artanis' swap, Maev's pull, Maev's cage, the Zarya's ults, like this Monstrosity is immune to so many things. I think one of Zarya's ults hits only heroes, the other one hits minions. But either way, you're immune to so many abilities that are CC that only CC heroes, and so you can kind of walk past so much the enemies are doing, out heal a ton of their damage, and do a stupid amount of damage. So I think that if you can play this Monstrosity out correctly and just get like 2 waves of soak and then try to keep it alive before an objective, you can bring this into an objective fight and absolutely just dominate. And you do get slowed by things like the Arthas, but there's not a lot other things that will stun you or root you. I mean, Malfurion's root, for example, you can walk right over. It only affects heroes. And because there's so many things that only affects heroes, this is actually a pretty scary addition to a team against those particular people. They go Maiev, you toss us in, you walk through her cage, kill everyone on their team. And same thing, you're not giving resets to a Maiev on her Q because she has to hit 2 heroes. So it's interesting, and I don't know if this is going to be the major thing, but just the ability to, if this Arthas starts catching up to me, and he's right here, I could be like, you know what, I'm going to leave. And then you can just deep tunnel away, and you get healed for being in the fountain area, or not the fountain, the Hall of Storms, right? So that's the major thing I wanted to show is how scary that could be. And we can, let me reset quests really quick, and let me toggle cooldowns just for a second. And let's go back in to the Monstrosity, and say your team isn't really fighting really clustered, you can always just get the movement speed, right? So you could essentially summon a Monstrosity, and if someone starts ganking you, guess what? You get movement speed and you get away, right? That's it. That's all you do. You get movement speed and you just run away. So that's all you have to do. But it did actually look like I was getting healed there for a second, which is weird. I shouldn't be getting healed on the Monstrosity right now. Oh, a minion died. Never mind. That's why. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, get some movement speed. You can get away. So there's other options you can definitely do, and it can be really, really scary. The clone, I mean, that just generally seems good. So if we were to select an ally hero, someone like, let's go with a, here, let me go with someone who's melee. Let's go to Butcher. A lot of Butcher onto our team, and we can see the clone side of this. Let's reset talents. And again, the build I would probably be going is something related to this. Maybe a mule if I'm going to be picking up clone, but doesn't really matter. Let's get the healing. The extra movement speed's nice. But I could even go with the mutation, and we can go with the shield. So we can shield this Butcher here. And now he's got this shield, right? And the shield keeps refreshing itself. So there it just refreshed itself again. And I've got this mutation that's going to be doing a bunch of damage and healing me. Like, a clone doesn't even do as much damage as that Monstrosity does. It's insane. But I am giving that extra shield to this Butcher. And so as long as I've got this out, this Butcher keeps getting a shield. And it's insane. It really is insane. I don't even think I showed you guys the final DPS when I was fully stacked. I didn't do that. I did stacks from 2 to 3 waves and 3 to 4 waves. And then the full stack is like 5 waves. And if you're at 5 waves in full stacks, you do about 800 to 900 DPS to a target dummy. It's insane. But yeah, that's pretty much the the general idea of the new Abathur is what they tried to do, I think, was make it to where you didn't need to spec into supporting someone in order to heal, right? That was their first thing that they wanted to do. They wanted you to be able to heal without that. The healing is pretty weak, though. The next thing they wanted to do was just kind of make every build do similar things, which I don't know. Like, I'm still going to enjoy playing him, but you definitely can't solo heal with him anymore. And the major reason why he was picked before isn't able to be picked anymore, which is fine because he does have new builds, and they did give him some pretty cool stuff. Monstrosity, I'm on the fence about. It seems pretty strong. That butcher just suicided, but it seems strong, but I don't know exactly where it's going to fit. If that actually will work, where you can just play safe with it in the solo lane, and then you can use its global to join a team fight, that would be pretty cool. Because on maps like Cursed Hollow, where the objective's always pretty far away, if you and your Monstrosity are both in the lane that's furthest away from the objective, and you're just stacking against another solo laner, and then suddenly you get the solo laner starts moving towards the objective, you can heal off the wave and get extra stacks for one more wave, and then global into the middle of a fight and just start doing a ridiculous amount of damage and healing. So I think it's really cool. And if you do want more DPS, you can pick up the level 13 talent here, but then you get less healing because you don't get the bonus healing there. So maybe if you've got someone who heals minions, but there's not a lot of people who heal minions anymore. So I don't think it's worth it to pick something other than Soma Transference. Anyways, so that's the new Abathur. I still think Clone is really, really powerful on the majority of maps, but I could definitely see where you could take the solo lane and go Monstrosity and be pretty scary. Either way, that is the new Abathur. Heals a lot less than he did before, but he has probably more utility than he had before. So pros and cons, I guess. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and feel free to check out my other videos.